is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The Charlotte Roval. This was a course perhaps only known to hardcore IMSA fans as well as anyone who's done a track day in the infield of this popular oval. But thanks to NASCAR this year, it's seen a revival and a return to the spotlight. Staying true to the spirit of their vintage roots, our drivers today have elected to run the old version with its narrow and bumpy confines. Like the stock car drivers of present day found out, it won't be easy. We'll see who adapts to this hybrid circuit as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, it's been divisive in the real world, but here on iRacing, the Roval's actually seen a surprising amount of use before this year.
Joe, they certainly have, but listen, welcome to the great Charlotte Motor Speedway. You know, they opened the track way back in 1959. The road course came many years later, but what we have today, well, a lot of fun for both of these classes as you get out here. Is 2.25 mile road course, and it's going to be a bit of fun. They also get out, as you see here on the screen, they get out onto the oval. That's why they call it the Roval, Joe. But the 12 turns will bring challenges to these drivers today. Tires could even be a factor, maybe for the GTOs. We'll see. We'll check the weather when we come back from another great lap around the Roval with another GSRC lap guide.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Charlotte. Turn 1 is a game of chicken with the outside wall on entry and on exit. How close do you dare with the speed you carry? There's no time to think because you're feathering your way through turn 2 immediately. Hold to the left to offer the best line entering 3 and 4. And honestly, you're pretty much turning these two corners into one long arc. 4 is the sharper and slower one of the two, and the track feels like it narrows on exit. Then comes 5 and 6, which behave similarly, except in this case it's not paved on the inside, and those big gray curbs can be very dangerous if you clatter them too hard. Don't be greedy at the apex. The crest before turn 7 makes it very tough to get the car across to the proper line, and you'll find it easy to understeer wide at the apex. Then comes the critical turn 8, which takes us back onto the oval. You can't get through there flat out, but it's best to lift early rather than late to help give you more speed. That's because you're flat out through most of the rest of the lap. The drafting will probably come into play somewhat through here. But amazingly, you do need to lift heading into NASCAR 3. Once again, try to feather the throttle early and then mash it down once you feel the car tucking in safely to that white line. From there, straighten out the kink in the quad oval, line up your braking for turn 1, and you've now finished a lap around Charlotte.
There you see a lap around in the Audi. It's going to be even quicker in the Nissans with this circuit really not offering much in the way of braking once you get out of the infield. So let's take a look at the points championship as we pass halfway now. Up at the top in the GTPs, Fabian Gerber leading by a near 15 points over Ardo Iamaki. But look at this. Even our top drivers have a lot of zeros for their drop points, and that's with both included, which is a bit of a surprise. So Gerber's really the only one with an ace up its sleeve. Yamaki, Albrecht, and Houghton all have zeros, and then Timu Toika only has 4 that he can rely on. With that, let's take a look at the GTP lights standing. Martin Krejcik up at the top there, and only 4 points behind the Matthias Goldhager. He's given him a run for his money. Johnny Bell drops down actually 1 position as Goldhager has been making steady inroads upwards. Kopak also moves downwards with that. And then Dave Peterson rounding out the top 5 of our GTP lights. What about the GTOs? What are we looking at over there?
Joe, let's take a look at the GTO standings now, and they find from the UK, Phil, in and around the lake there, 92 points. Villarola just 7 points behind now after a strong showing last week. He now gets up into second. Jamie Hall, well, he's the victim. He's the one that falls down to third as a result of that. Only 9 points behind, so everything's still really tight here in the top three. Riley Thompson had a strong run last week that really helped him. It got him into the top five. He's only 24 points behind now, but look who's there right behind him, Nick Mukanas. So Mukanas only a point back. Joe, this battle at the in the top of the GTO standings, very, very tight, with still a lot of racing left to go. Now let's go ahead and look at the GTU standings and see where everybody sits. Milan Arnasi, the Hungarian there, 64 points over Andrea Albertinelli right now, 12 points behind there. And Iskrin Pondiv in third, 28 points back. Thomas Delmuth is a lot closer now. Look at that. He's only a point back now from Pondiv. And Brian Shanahan sitting back, 35.5 points. And Joe, I think we talked about that. Now I don't remember. How did they calculate the half point? What was that again?
That's how they dealt with the split that they had unexpectedly. So we'll take a look at how this race itself will go. With this being round 7, as we mentioned, the drivers are well into the season. This is only a 40-minute race. I'm sure the drivers will be a little bit glad about how that is not going to be any longer than they need to be on this circuit. It's pretty chaotic out there typically. There is no stop for fuel, however, so any expected pit stops are not happening. They do have an open setup on the car, which means they can tweak the settings to their liking, and that includes anything that the real cars could do in real life. You can tweak on them to make sure that it's drives how you like. There's a scoring at the bottom. They have no spare cars in this series, and there could be a very likely chance that you'll get some damage today with how things are. And today we also have another helper to try and keep eyes on what's happening both out on track and in the pit lane. Our pit reporter for today is Stefan Schlacker. Steph, I know you seem a little bit relieved that you can't partake today. We've been talking about it, just the traffic and the difficulty in overtaking, especially in the infield, on everyone's mind today.
Yeah, as you said, also, first of all, welcome from me on here. But as you said, especially in the infield, it will be tough to manage your traffic. Not so much for a GTP because you just have the outright power through there, but especially for the GTO, it's a wide car. The GTP is a wide car. You just have to manage your track in, track out, and just be aware of yourself, your track position, the cars around you, the GTPs coming up to you. It's going to be so much chaos from inside the cockpit in a GTO car.
By the way, if you enjoy all this vintage racing, there's this and more on the iRacing Esports Network. There's a big red button that says subscribe. Make sure and click that. You won't miss a moment, including lots of World Championship racing and broadcasts from our friends over at LSR TV, SimSpeed, Esports Network, as well as RaceSpot and Apex TV. So, as we watch the qualifying right now at the top of the GTPs, Fabian Gerber is already finished. He's got his 2 laps in, and he's actually just joined on the front row by Antti Lapisto, just a tick over 58 seconds for his lap. Riley Thompson leads the GTOs, and I think it looks like everybody's got their laps in that class as well.
Yeah, Joe, and very competitive qualifying for the GTOs. We've got smaller fields today, obviously, because it's split, but Riley Thompson, I'll tell you what, the Mid-South driver, continuing that momentum that he's had here over the past couple races, and currently sits on the provisional pole with the Finn, Joni Hagner, right there in his mirror, separated by about 100th of a second.
Yeah, things are incredibly tight up at the top of the field. And one thing that I think will be interesting as well, it's not just the infield that can cause some problems. Stefan, I understand that the Audis aren't flat out on the oval, which should make things a little bit interesting.
No, they're not, and it's especially tricky here because you have the turns. They aren't the same radius, which we're pretty already used to in NASCAR. But especially for the Audi, it's very tricky because you can go either with the high downforce or the standard. I'm gonna guess most are here with the standard aero package, but you have to manage your throttle through these turns. You don't want to lift too late. You don't want to lift too early. Oh, and as already said, we have the GTPs coming down to you 100% on the throttle throughout this oval. It's just so much chaos inside this GTO cockpit today.
We watch Joni Kaisen and continue to get a little bit of practice in out here. Can't blame him for trying to get as much as possible. With the clock ticking down, we should be finished with this qualifying here very soon. As I said, I think everybody's actually got their times in. We'll go to the grid in just a moment since they do have a pace lap to do. For those wondering where the new Roval is, well, it is on its way. iRacing has said that they are working on it, and it should be relatively close to being finished. Everybody knows the old phrase, it's coming soon.
No. Hashtag soon.
Hashtag soon.
Hashtag
yes.
soon, right.
So everyone just be a little bit patient and we'll get to race on the new one. With that, qualifying has ended. Let's go through the starting grid. Fabian Gerber going to be on the pole today with Antti Lepisto starting outside of him in second. Justin Albrecht in row 2 on the inside in third with Arto Yamaki starting 4th. Gabriel Lanini in P5 and Joni Kaisen in starting 6th. Then in row 4, you've got Michael Houghton starting 7th. James King starts in 8th and Timu Toika in 9th. Fabian Jungluth will round out our top 10. Clayton McLeod, going to be a hard day for him. He'll start at the back of the GTPs because he did not get a lap in. Sean?
All right, Joe, down to the GTOs, and, well, it's going to be that guy, Riley Thompson, sitting on the pole, and right behind him there, Joni Hogner. In second, Jamie Hall with a third-place qualifying effort. Billy Raiola, 4th. 5th in class is going to be the number 8, Rob Olenek. Sorry about that. Nick Bucano's starting 6th today in his number 12. And Tanner McCulloch going to start in 7th. 8th place starting spot there for Ben Laughter. 9th in the double deuce is going to be Robert Plumley. And then we got 10th and 11th to be Phil in and around the lake there in 10th, our points leader. And Ove Trengrade is going to round out the 11-car Audi GTO field, Joe.
Oof, must have had off tracks in their qualifying because Phil Lake and Ove probably wouldn't want to start at the back of this field. There's going to be a lot to deal with, especially trying to get to the front. So we wait for the roof pace car to lead them around the track. So this one is definitely one that a lot of people have marked on their calendar, whether they're looking forward to it or loathing it, but it is a wild card. Yeah, it's. I'd say you'd almost compare it, Sean, to Lime Rock in the way that I think this could be a chance to get a better result than you usually would, or get an absolutely horrible result.
Well, Joe, you know what? If I'm in the championship hunt right now, I like the fact that this race split. To be honest with you, it could decrease the amount of carnage that we might have seen with a 55 to 60 car field. So, let's see how this plays out. But I think this is going to be kind of fun. We've really got the best of the best here, and this should be a pretty fast, pretty competitive race.
I have no doubt it'll be a little bit unpredictable, but unpredictability is pretty much the MO of the Kamel GT series. Now they work their way through the infield. We see the Audis, the GTOs starting to come through. You can see how narrow it is in this older version. And when we get some onboards, you'll get a feel for just how bumpy it is as well. That repaved version in the modern day was very much needed here to put modern race cars out there on this track. Now they weave their way back onto the oval portion. And that fence to the outside, I can, yeah, I've hit it so many times, Sean.
Sometimes you hit it and you didn't even see it, right? It almost jumps out and grabs you, Joe. You've really got to be careful getting through there. Don't play it safe. Don't risk it. Make sure you've left yourself plenty of clearance to get by that fence.
Yeah, thank goodness the modern version got rid of that danger, because I can't imagine
I should have painted it orange or something so you could at least see it better. You know what I mean? It's just...
The other difference you might notice is there's no chicane on the back in this version. Drivers are going to be flat out, except for the Audis, of course. You're going to have to lift coming up to NASCAR 3 and 4. Nissan's definitely going to be flat to the floor, as Stefan mentioned. And soon the pace car will peel off as they come through these last embanked corners. I mentioned it in the pre-race. IMSA did actually race here in the real world back in the 80s, and multiple times even, I should note. So that's the reason why this series is racing here. It's not just because it's a free track, not just because they're crazy. They are crazy, but they have their reasons. So let's see who's got reason to win as the roof pace car peels off. Fabian Gerber accelerates away here in round 7 of the Kamel GT series. Already a threat for second is Antti Lepisto as Justin Albrecht up the inside, but he breaks a little bit too early. Arttu Yamaki sticks his nose in, and they all get through the first corner clean. Let's go back to the GTOs.
Wagner shoots the gap and gets to turn 1 first, Joe, in front of Riley Thompson. Thompson already having to yield and give up that position. What a great start by Yoni. And they've already caught a Nissan there. Who is that?
That's Yoni Kaijinen, who had a bit of a spin in the infield. Thankfully, he gets it going before they catch him, and he shouldn't be much of a problem for this field. We'll go back to that replay in a little bit. The GTPs are already on the oval, and Fabian Gerber is stretching himself away to nearly a second over Antti Lepisto. In fact, most of the GTPs are spreading out. They've all got their own little bit of track. Cannot be said for the GTOs.
No, Riley Thompson, boy, I'll tell you what, he got caught up in Yoni's draft there down the backstretch and really made some big gains. But here they come across the start-finish line, down into 1.
And it's early breaking into that corner. These cars don't have as much grip as modern race cars. With that little kink, it can be tricky. So back into the infield they go, all staying tied together. Steph, do you think that we'll see quite a bit of train racing like this with the Audis? Do they punch a big hole in the air?
With the Audis, I'm pretty sure that we will see for a long time this train racing, and then at the end, when the really good make the difference from the good drivers, it's where we will see the big train break up.
It's already breaking up a little bit up at the front. Hagner gets himself a gap. Let's see if that can be reeled in. Yeah, Sean.
Right, Riley struggled a little bit down in the infield. He laid apex on one of the turns, got him slowed down, and in fact, it got Jamie Hall checked up. And has allowed Yoni to pull out just a little bit now. But it all changes when you come down to 1.
And we have our first driver to lose it in turn 1, and the GTP's James King had to take avoiding action to keep from running into that bright yellow wall coming out of Heartburn Turn.
Oh, that's right. We have a name for it now.
Yes, we have a corner name. Hooray. Yeah, he knew it was happening. He just bailed out early. Thankfully, they don't have the wall in this version, so he just was able to take to the runoff. We're going to watch one more time on board. This sent him to the back of the field, except for Michael Houghton, who unfortunately had to take a tow and get his car repaired. He's back out a lap down. Ooh, battle for the lead starting to heat up in the GTPs. Fabian Gerber has both Lepisto and Albrecht all over the back of him. And something seems to have happened to Toyka.
Yeah, Joe missed his braking zone going into 1. Just totally blew it.
Oh, another
totally blew it. 4-wheel lockup.
Another victim from Heartburn Turn. We're going to watch here. This is from on board the Finnish driver. Is this going to look similar to James King? Is he just going to outbrake himself and maybe try to make it? Oh no, it broke loose on him. He does get it back in again. Doesn't look like he actually hit it. But have a little bit of an update. It sounds like Steph was watching a little bit closer with what happened with Michael Houghton.
Yes, Michael Houghton, he got caught up in a little bit of turn 1 mess on lap 1, had to take repairs, and he is out again.
Also understand he did not take a tow. He was able to drive it back around and get it in there. There you can see him back out on track, but he's got a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, we jump back up to our lead pack in the GTPs. Fabian Gerber leading the way over Lepisto, Albrecht, and now Iamaki has joined the fray. As they come back onto the oval portion, Gerber trying to stretch himself away. You can see they really hit that embankment pretty hard. Sean, do you think that could have a risk of damaging the aero on these cars?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. Yeah, they can be fragile beasts at times. You take too much of a curb shot, you're definitely either going to do some under tray damage or possibly some suspension damage.
Ooh, a little bit look to the inside from Antti Lepisto. Tries to outbrake Gerber down into turn 1. But Gerber's going to carry the momentum. A little bit of squirming under the power from Antti Lepisto. And Justin Albrecht sees if he could take advantage. No dice this time. Not missing anything with the GTO class. So Hagner continuing to stretch a gap out. Riley Thompson, Hall, and Ruola starting to lose track of that leader.
All right, and Rob Olenek right now, I don't know. I don't know if he's holding anybody up, but boy, we've got quite a battle behind him. Is Mukanos and McCullough going at it? You know, Phil Lake, I'm sorry, Joe, Phil Lake was charging up through the field, but he's kind of caught behind these guys now.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be tough for him to try to get by all these drivers. Mukanos trying to keep him back, but Phil Lake is not going to be denied as they come through 3 and 4. Wow, Mukanos pretty brave trying to come back from around the outside, and he's still not giving up. They bang doors.
Oh.
And he's finding grip the long way around.
Phil wrapped that curb, hit it hard, got the car up off the track.
Back up onto the oval.
Did you see how Phil cut that off there? Put a couple tires in the grass to get back up on the track.
He was looking to get that power down as soon as he could, and I think it worked because he's got the slipstream while the two in front of him of Olenek and McCullough stretch away. This battle continues for 6th place, or 7th place in the GTOs. Looks like he's not going to have an attempt this time into turn 1. I see that James King is in the pits. Let's head down to Stefan. Do you have any idea what happened to James?
I'm currently looking through the replay. I do not know, but he is quite heavily damaged. Oh, there we go. Turn 3, he caught him out too fast in and then into the barrier twice. Very hard.
And just as we jumped away, you can see coming back, Lake coming on the inside of Nick Mukanos. It's a repeat of last lap, almost exactly.
Yeah, Lake hit the same curb, the same way again, but this time he's on the outside as they head to the oval. He's going to get the spot. Oh, Mukanos had to let up a little bit there, I think, Joe.
Nicely done by Phil Lake, moving himself into P7. About a 2-second gap up the road if he can catch Tanner McCullough. They might have a little bit of hassle doing it because Mukanos is already within the draft and he's trying to come back.
Yeah, but like we talked about in the pre-race, there's a little bit of lift involved there. It's really hard to get that run. Mukanos now coming around the outside as they come to the line.
Offline for Phil Lake. Can he get it woed up? Yes, he does. Looked a little bit sketchy ahead of them.
McCullough.
A battle. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all over Olenek, man. He almost got him rattled there in the turn. Olenek able to stretch away for just a moment.
Yeah, looking a little bit more like a trapper keeper today in that car. Yeah, the number 8.
That's where I've seen that before.
Number 8 leads the blue machine of Tanner McCullough back onto the oval. They're going to be just about 4 car lengths apart. It narrows down as the draft comes into play for Tanner. Does he have enough speed? And I think, wow. I think he's got the inside, and it looks like he's got it. Here comes up around the high side. Maybe use a little bit of oval tactics. Rob Olenek, over under, coming off the corner. That's going to give him the inside down into Heartburn turn. Outbreaks him just as the traffic comes up behind him. This is our leaders almost coming together. Fabian Gerber woes up to try to make sure he stays safe. Makes a little bit of contact with McCullough and still gets through.
Yeah, it's definitely contacted. Here comes Lepisto trying to squeeze it through.
This is exactly where they did not want to catch this group. Going to manage to get through turn 5. Now up to 6. Oh, and Albrecht spinning off course. Another one joins him. I think Gabriel Lanini for a little bit, as well as Nick Mukanos. Watching the replay. Not sure if anybody's really to blame here. There's a lot happening.
Yeah, Joe, definitely a lot happening. And honestly, I think it started with Albrecht hitting the curb. I think that's really what started it all going bad there.
Yeah, I'd say that those curbs are bad news. Any curbs really usually are bad news for those GTP cars. We've switched up to Riley Thompson, second place. Continues to lose a little bit of touch with Yoni Hagner. It's about 1.5 seconds. He's keeping him within range, but he's going to have to get closer if he wants to try and take that first place away. You can see our leader in the GTPs, Fabian Gerber, going to sneak by. Could this potentially offer a little bit of help for Riley Thompson? I think Hagner, unfortunately, going to be passed on the oval. Fortunate for Yoni, not as fortunate for Riley.
Boy, Riley had a really bad transition back up to the track right there. Now, I know he was trying to get out of the way of Lepisto, but he's got to be careful. That car was upset for sure. Riley could ill afford any more trouble here as Yoni's now 2 seconds ahead.
Looks like Riley, though, had a big slide up onto the oval. J.B. Hall behind him by about a second, with yet more traffic coming through. 14th, having quite a mess. The 14th overall, Rob Olenek.
Hey, Joe, the Fat Timu fans have got a reason to cheer. I mean, he's up to 4th after just making a pass a moment ago here on Lignini.
Nicely done by Timu, trying to recover from his early mistake. There we see Lanini now in 5th, having gained some spots from Albrecht, having his off earlier as well. In fact, speaking of which, Albrecht now passing that battle for 5th in the GTOs. Rob Olenek still has Tanner McCullough behind him, and now they've got Phil Lake, who's run them down.
Yeah, this has been all part of Phil trying to recover from a bad qualifying effort. And yeah, he's definitely caught him on this lap right here. This is going to get interesting through the infield. Houghton got to them at just the right time.
But they also have Fabian Jungbluth and, well, I guess just Fabian Jungbluth, mercifully, coming up behind them. You can see how close to the rear McCullough is getting on Rob Olenek as we ride on board with Rob. And in the background, we're catching glances of Phil Lake closing in. Jungbluth catches them coming up to turn 6. Let's see if he tries to wait patiently or try and squeeze through. Looks like he's going to give him a little bit of time and now swing on by on the outside of NASCAR 1 and 2. Oh, it's a big moment for the car ahead of him, Phil Lake.
Joe, that transition's it's not fun in any car, but in the Audi, you'd think four-wheel drive, they'll probably get right through it. No, not so much. It really upset the car. You hit it wrong. Here comes McCullough on the outside, though, getting by Mukanos. And, well, there's Jungbluth getting held up.
Yep, boxed in with no place to go. And Rob Olenek deep on the brakes. Over-under as they almost touch. They're still holding up poor Jungbluth. who thankfully has no one to race right now. Olenek gets it back.
Oh no, that looked like chrome horn to me. I think they did touch, but poor Fabian, he's just wrong place at the wrong time.
Talked about having to be patient. He had to be extremely patient through that first set of corners. So we're right on board with you, Bluth.
He's still being patient, Joe, if I'm being honest, man. He's played this well. I mean, obviously, he didn't get caught up in anything here. Finally, he's going to be able to get around Mukanos and get away from all this. But for the last 2 laps, Fabian Youngbluth has been a really nice guy to not upset that battle.
Absolutely. Well, and we've seen that in the Kamel GT series, being patient actually does tend to pay off. Because as long as you keep the car whole, you're going to usually scalp some positions as we continue to watch this 3-way fight for 5th position. You mentioned earlier, Sean, that the drivers should be happy that they had a split field as Rob Olenek gets the wall coming through turn 1, just grazes it. And unfortunately, McCullough not able to take advantage. But
go ahead. No, you finish your thought.
I was going to say that I think one driver that's glad that it split is Phil Lake. Imagine if he had to go through a field twice as big from the back.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, things have stalled out for Phil at the moment. Why? Because, well, Mukanos and I got to be honest. Oh, Phil with a little trouble hitting that transition again.
Yep.
But I've been wanting to say Tanner McCullough, very, very impressive today. His drive. He has given Rob Olenek all he can handle, and this isn't over. It's far from over here.
Oh, and Fat Timu's had another problem. This was in turns 3 and 4.
He's just going to lose the grip here, Joe.
And as soon as those rear tires touched the dirt, that was it. There was no saving it. Wow, it was wobbling as soon as he entered the corner, almost the second he hit those brakes. He comes back, but unfortunately, he's down in 6th now. He lost 2 spots. So while we were watching that, looks like Tanner's gotten past Rob. We'll take a look at this replay. Ooh, up and around the high side.
Yeah, Tanner taking the road less traveled there. Just a really solid run off of turn 4 completes that for him.
Oh, very well done. He talked about how impressive it is that he's where he is, and I have to say that he's earning this spot. I mean, this isn't just a fluke that he's run into. Clearly, he's got something under that car.
Meanwhile, Phil Lake.
Yeah, Rob Olenek has something under him. That is the car of Phil Lake. Looking to the inside of turn 1, Rob gives the wall a much wider berth, and Phil Lake loses control nearly.
I think he hit the wall. I think he clipped it, Joe. He did. He's got some left front damage because of that now.
Yeah, we can see a little bit of damage on Phil Lake on both sides.
Well, when you start at the back, you know, you may pick up a ding or 2 along the way coming back up through the field. But that damage may be critical to his top-end speed and whether or not he can get back to the draft.
We've got Clayton McLeod, who also started at the back. He's only up to 9th, unfortunately. Clayton's got about 10 seconds up to the next driver, so he still has a chance to try and make this a race. Phil Lake down to the inside yet again with Rob Olenek. See if he can get it done this time. He's a little bit later on the brakes than Rob is. Rob's trying to carry the speed, and he's chopped off. Door closed.
Yeah, and Phil was flat smoking those tires straight into 1. Whew, that was a great pass. Bold.
Is that the road course equivalent of a slide job?
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of a slide job,
McLeod. Oh, now McLeod spinning.
And he gets into him, T-bones him directly. Rob Olenek, blinded by the car of James King, had no place to go.
Wow.
A confluence of all the worst in the world for poor Rob Olenek.
Yeah, big
Off
bowl
track.
of bad.
He just couldn't have known that was about to happen.
No, there's just unfortunate, really. Rob had such a strong car, and now he's going to have to try and wheel around the rest of this race with that damage.
We see him lose a little bit of control. Thinks he's got it gathered back together. Oh, he could have maybe seen the car coming, but just... he appeared out of nowhere from around James King. All right, so our leader up in the GTPs is still Fabian Gerber. He's only leading by about 3 seconds, though. That could disappear quickly in this series. And it's a similar gap from Joni Hagner to Riley Thompson in the GTOs, just over 3 seconds. "20 minutes left in the race, so we're just about hitting that halfway mark."
You know, Joe, I think Riley's biggest problem has just been him being slowed down by the traffic. I think if all things were even, the pace to Joni is pretty close lap by lap. So
on screen, into the fence. We warned drivers about that one, and Joni Kaijinen unfortunately falls victim to that chain link.
yeah, oh boy, and just started with him getting off in the dirt. Of course, he was going side by side here and with the car Gabriel Lanini.
Oof. It was like a vacuum. As soon as he touched the grass,
Yep.
It was sucked in. So that puts him down in 7th. We don't need to go back to it. I can report that Clayton McLeod also got into the wall a lap or two ago. I think his car is severely damaged from that contact with Olenek. Right on board now with Teemu Toika. An up and down day for Fat Teemu. Justin Albrecht just behind him. That is for position. The car behind them, though, that's Michael Houghton. That is not for position. They're coming up on traffic. It's a form of Mukanos and Laughter.
And Laughter was sliding a little bit there up the turn.
We've seen that so many times from these drivers. Fat Teemu going to have to weave in and out of these GTO cars. So is Albrecht. Oh, and Albrecht picked a little bit of the wrong side. Gets held up. Oh,
No.
trying to go around the outside. That is so scary coming off turn 4. Dear goodness. They all come out the other side. Ben Laughter still ahead of Mukanos and the GTOs. And Ladini still leading Toika and Albrecht.
Joe, Riley Thompson gets caught at a good spot on track. Finally on the backstretch, and 3 are able to pass him clean there.
Yep, including James King, who's on the same lap. One thing we haven't pointed out, Sean, the difficulties when these faster class cars get on the same lap as you. Not getting the blue flag being waved.
Yeah, right, exactly. That blue flag, a big help when you're not focusing on your relative, obviously. Little time to do that here at the Charlotte Roval.
Got a bit of a battle between Albrecht and Toika. This is for 5th. Oh, as the car, Ove Traegerade almost got into the wall. Excuse me, Albrecht and Toika. Oh, and another spin in the same corner for Teemu Toika, just like that. It goes away from him. Wow. My goodness, when we come to the onboard of Toika on the replay, he was already crossed up into turn 1. God, that happened so fast. He is severely damaged this time.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Toika's going to have to take it into the pits and call it a day.
He really bent it there, Joe. But that car, there's not really a straight corner left on the right side of it, at least.
And that's the side you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to limp this thing around for another 16 minutes. Meanwhile, Laughter and Mukanos.
Yeah, Joe, these two have been going at it for quite a while. It's been back and forth, back and forth. I don't know that this ninth spot has been settled, not even close to being settled. Now they've got, who's that behind him? Is that McLeod? Yeah, it is. Clayton coming through.
And this is the last of the running Audis. This is basically a battle to not come in dead last place here for this class. A lot of curb to the inside for Mucanos.
Sure was.
Brave on it.
Got them peanuts jumping.
So as they come back onto the oval, Mucanos trying to see if he could pry this away from Laughter, but doesn't get a good exit. And poor Clayton McLeod, he's not fighting anybody, so he's just going to have to sit and wait.
Oh, look at that run. Wow.
Draft seems to be pretty helpful today. Oh, but yet again, that inside pinching down. Mucanos trying to see if he can outbrake him into turn one, but heartburn turn for this moment. Gonna go for Laughter, or is it? Giving him another go. Nick Mucanos finds the exit off the corner. Now down into three. It switches back in favor of Ben Laughter. Can he finally put it to rest? He can. Wow, Mucanos with a power move. And still Clayton McLeod has not passed them. That whole time I was watching that battle, I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that Clayton was just kind of sitting behind him. Oh, battle for fifth between Tanner McCullough and Phil Lake now.
Phil's been trying to sort this out for, a third of this race. And he hasn't done it yet. Tanner McCullough's been strong, man. Ever since they were able to drop Rob Olenek from the battle, it's been on, game on. And Phil just can't get past him, Joe.
Oof, a little bit of off track using that four-wheel drive, Tanner McCullough. And he doesn't lose the position. This has been a hard-fought fight between these two. Probably not what Phil Lake wanted. He probably wanted to hustle his way up to the leaders to see if he could get a podium. It looks like that is not on the cards the way things are going. As they enter the oval one more time, the prototypes between Justin Albrecht and Gabriel Lanini also been close to each other for much of this race. Lanini trying the outside as they break for turn once again, and he breaks very late. Manages to get side by side. Justin Albrecht not going to give it up as it stays in his favor coming through turn two. But look at this, Lanini now into three, and then four, he gets it done.
I got to be honest with you, Joe. I love that Wins car. I think that's cool looking.
I like both of them. I'm a fan of this Pennzoil machine.
Yes, me too, sure.
Having grown up a fan of Rick Mears, I quite enjoy that paint scheme he's got.
I'm sure you do, yeah. They're pulling up on Yoni, our leader in the GTO class. He's got it out to 4.8 over Riley now. Yoni getting caught at a good spot.
Yep, this is exactly where he wants this to happen. Or does it? Gets a little bit held up in the corner. Doesn't want to be that high up there, but that's why he's got a gap to the drivers behind. Albrecht not giving up on this, trying to come back yet again, but a defensive move by Lanini into the first corner. Going to keep him safe for now. That is Michael Houghton still a lap down behind them. So he just has no input on the way this battle goes unless he decides the time is right to try and get by.
Hey, Joe, I got to bring this up. Jamie Hall has caught Billy Raiola. I don't know. I guess I took my eyes off of it for too long, but all of a sudden, Jamie is right there in his rear window.
And let's stay with this, but just to report, Rob Olenek has lost another spot to Ove Train Parade. Rob now down to P8. Of course, his car being damaged, he's probably very slow in a straight line.
Yeah, again, that front-end damage, he's going to be fortunate to finish this race with a little under 12 minutes left to go. He should make it.
And Steph, I'm kind of curious. These we've talked about how they need a little bit of a lift in the oval portion, and we've seen a few drivers on the GTO side kind of try to use the high side. Do you think any oval experience would help these drivers? I mean, being able to know how to read how the grip is on a bank turn like that?
It's hard to say, but I would say it doesn't really help because of this four-wheel drive. Because you have the really high grip now on the low side, and then no grip at all on the high side. So it affects by quite a lot the GTO. But what you can do is take the high part in the first turn and then have the lift, and then shoot down low and try to get the car in front of you out of the turn. But apart from that, running the high side is not really an option for the GTOs.
Right now, an option for Jamie Hall is to get in the slipstream. Let's see if he ducks to the inside. Yes, he does. Willy Rolla does not defend. Is he going to try exactly what Stefan just described? Starts out high, cuts down low, gets back within that slipstream, and he starts to gain, but is it enough to be able to outbrake him in turn one? Yes, it is. He is looking to the inside, down to this first corner. Can the Finn get it done over the Brit? No, he cannot.
Wow, and Jamie just with a great late apex there, Joe, and taking the really wide way around, but kept the momentum up and able to squeeze it through. Hang on to the podium spot, but boy, the podium spot is going to be in question until we get the checkered flag.
I was going to say, unless a big mistake happens from Willy, I doubt that he is going to drop back from Jamie Hall at this point. Hall might have run him down, but we've seen the draft plays a major role as once again they bound onto the banking of NASCAR 1 and 2, just pounding the bottom of the car. Only 9 minutes left, and already the very next lap, here comes Willy Rolla. Pulls the move on him, but what has Phil Lake learned? Oh, wow, he's a lot closer.
Yeah.
He is so much closer off of 4.
Okay, so, right, we're trying to figure out an end game here. With now 9 minutes left, it's time to start figuring out what you can do and what you can't do.
Excuse me, Jamie Hall, not Phil Lake.
Yeah.
Similarly painted cars. Oh, Fabian Gerber, our leader had a big problem in turn 1. And this was all of his own making. Let's watch the replay. Just about mid-corner, it starts to go away from him. He tries to gather it together, but there's that wall right to the inside, and there's definite damage on that car now.
And Lepisto goes screaming on by as he's trying to get it sorted out and turned around.
So our new leader, Antti Lepisto, up to the front. It looked like this was Fabian Gerber's race to lose. And indeed it was. Thankfully, he's out ahead of Arto Iamaki, and he's got about 4 seconds. But how damaged is that car, and how slow is that making his lap times? That's the question. As we caught up with that action, right now it's Rolla ahead of Hall. Oh, and take that back. It's Hall ahead of Rolla.
Yeah, well, Willy made a mistake there, Joe. Put a couple tires off in the dirt or the grass or the fescue, whatever you refer to that stuff as. They have laid in the infield here in Charlotte.
If it's grass, it's very dead grass. They need iRacing needs to hire some groundskeepers, I think.
Yeah, they need to get the lawn boy out and get a little work done.
Round 1 and 2, they've also got some traffic coming up. Our leader in the GTP is Antti Lepisto, and he's going to meet the cars too wide, which is not good for him. He will be able to go up to the high side. It gets a little sketchy coming off the corner. Both of them able to hold low. Willy Rolla covers off the inside. Jamie Hall, see if he pulls the over-under maybe? No, he's going to pull the over-over, carries the momentum. At least for now, still speeding through. Jamie Hall on the charge, gets the inside for 3.
Oh, and I'm sure Jamie's got to have like just a big grin on his face right now. I'm sure we know him pretty well. He's having a blast right at the moment.
Ooh, now he gets tipped as Billy Rolla gets into the side of him, but Jamie recovers.
Oh, and Rolla's going to struggle there. Here we go with the replay.
Rolla trying to pass in a place you don't often pass. Look at that, sticking his nose in, down to 5, coming up to 6, just a little too close, taps him, pulls back. And wow, what a save was that.
Yeah, he does pull back, but after he pulls back, he runs the car off wide into the grass. That's brought Tanner McCullough to his bumper.
And that's the break that Hall needed, I think, because remember, he ran him down, so he knew he was faster. He just wanted to break that slipstream over anything else.
Now, Hall's just got to avoid all the traffic coming through here over the next 5 minutes.
And try to hold off Tanner McCullough, because you know Tanner's not going to sit still. He sees another position. I think he's going to try and take it. 5 minutes left to go on the clock. The time is ticking down. This has been an exciting race, but tamer than we expected, which is probably a good thing. This race has had plenty of excitement. I don't think we needed anything more, just like that moment right there as James King goes to the inside of Tanner McCullough exactly when McCullough didn't want it. So our leaders currently, Antti Lepisto up at the front of the GTPs. Joni Hagner still up at the front of the GTOs and extending it. It's 5.5 seconds between Hagner and Thompson. Just hasn't had anything for him.
Joni had a great start to the race, Joe. He's capitalized that on ever since the green flag dropped.
Technology on a fast track, says the Toyota liveried Audi. Very fast track. A little bit of damage on the right front. I've noticed that on a few of them. I suspect that might be from hitting the embankment when they come up onto the oval portion.
Kajanen spun it down in turn 6, and that was right in front of Trengarade and Olenek, who were battling. That's for 7th place, those two.
We come back live. That looked like a little bit too much curb to the inside for Kajanen. Meanwhile, battle on screen. This is Albrecht yet again with Lanini, but he's going to get held up as they try to split the Audi of Willy Rolla. Down to the inside goes Lanini. To the outside goes Albrecht, and Albrecht comes away the leader. Oof, we wondered about the damage from Fabian Gerber. Ardo Iamaki in that red and black GTP car, I think has the pace on him. It's 3 minutes to go. If you're Fabian, do you go defensive or do you just let it happen? A little bit of lap traffic and Joni Hagner up ahead of Gerber. Certainly not helping the situation.
How dare you call Joni Hagner lap traffic?
Or the slower class.
Yeah, right.
All right, they both get through. Hagner, who is very good in that slower class, knows how to let those drivers by. So the battle for second continues. But I think Gerber, ever since the traffic, has got himself back together. Riley Thompson sort of held him up a little bit earlier, and that's what brought that gap down. Only 58-second laps that we see. 59-second laps for some in these GTP cars. So I believe we'll get 2 more to go.
Joe, Villarola is going to be really lucky here if he can hold off Tanner McCullough. Tanner still driving the wheels off of that Audi, and with a little bit of company there behind him to get around. But Yoni's, I think Yoni's got him clear, but Yoni's a little bit off pace. McCullough going to come around. He didn't need that, actually, to slow him down. He was really, really making ground there on Billy Rolla. Still is.
Yep, he's going to stay in the slipstream, pull him in. McCullough could make an attack down into Heartburn turn, but he decides not to. Out into the infield yet again. Working around the outside, Kajanen now leaves them through as to go. Billy Rolla under threat from Tanner McCullough for that 4th position. They've also got Phil Lake gaining on them as 2nd place. Looks to have swapped positions. Ardo Yamaki gets by Fabian Gerber. Watching the replay. Ooh, yeah, that straight line speed. Poor Gerber is limping. I don't think he'll have any response unless traffic maybe causes a hassle for Ardo.
We got the white flag out, Joe.
Oh, and Tanner McCullough, I think being attacked by Billy Rolla, but he's going to manage to get back by him. And unfortunately, we're going to have to leave that battle because Antti Lepisto is coming around NASCAR 3 and 4. We already had a surprise win earlier today here on GSRC. We're going to get a second one. Antti Lepisto with the win here at Charlotte.
Yoni Hogner is going to get this done, Joe, and win the race today on the Charlotte Roval. Again, it was all about the start. He never was challenged after the start of the race. Got a great jump and takes the win. Tanner McCullough back there. Joe was able to pull away from Villarola in the infield, and he's going to come across
in 4th place, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get himself a 4th place finish if he can just make it through NASCAR 4 here.
And I think he's got that easily indeed. Boy, what a run by the number 7. Hopefully he comes and talks to us a little bit after the race because I'd love to hear from his perspective. And I think we have a pass on replay. This is McCullough's side-by-side action.
Got a great
Billy Rolla.
Got a great run off the top of 4, Joe.
Looks at that high side. Oh, wow. Yeah, fantastic run. Just sped up alongside him and then in the braking, made it work.
Did Rolla make a mistake, though, there in the braking? Something didn't look right about the way he turned in. Maybe afraid to hit, maybe he was afraid of making contact with McCullough. Just wasn't quite sure where he was, Joe.
Could be the case. Hopefully we'll find out after the race when we have driver interviews. We'll also have the official results. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway. No, you didn't miss an oval race. We missed the road course with the Kamel GT series, and it was a pretty good race, I have to say. I enjoyed that one. It may have had a split today, and maybe that meant that we had the best of the best up there, but regardless, it was a challenge. Anti Lepisto was second for most of this race, and a mistake from the leader handed it to him on a silver platter. He takes the win, nearly 10 seconds ahead of Ardo Iamaki, who manages to get a second over the driver that did lead much of the race, Fabian Gerber. He's got to be kicking himself a little bit. He recovered to third place, his damage, of course, hurting his lap times. Justin Albrecht manages fourth. He was in a race it was in a battle nearly all race long with Gabriel Laniti in fifth. Fabian Jungbluth finished behind them in sixth place. And then Michael Houghton, who would have thought that he'd managed to get a seventh considering his early troubles. Joni Kaijinen, multiple off tracks, sends him down to eighth. James King, similar problems in ninth. And Clayton McLeod, 10th. Sean?
Joe, Joni Hagner gets the big win today, and he does it off the start of the race. Riley Thompson holds on for second. A good, smooth race for Riley, but a little too much traffic between him and Joni for most of the race and not able to get there. Jamie Hull gets himself a podium finish there, beating out Tanner McCullough, who had a strong run today to finish fourth. Billy Raola will finish fifth today. Phil in and around the lake. You know, he started there in the back and, well, he recovered the best he could, and that's going to net him a sixth place finish. Ove Trengarade, seventh today for him. Rob Olenek, that'll be an eighth place finish for Rob. Nick Bucanos in 12th. Ben Laughter, I'm sorry, Nick Bucanos in 9th. Ben Laughter in 10th today. And, well, Timu Toika, trouble for him, obviously. We documented that. Sorry to all the Fat Timu fans today. He'll finish 11th in class, 21st overall. And Robert Plumley, boy, it didn't last long for him today, Joe. He'll finish 11th and was a DNF, unfortunately, for Robert today. But there is your field and the results, and we've got a couple drivers to talk to, Joe.
Before we go to that, we have a quick announcement. Since it did split today, we wanted to announce in the second split that in the GTO class, Andrea Albertinelli took the win there, and Martin Krejcik. How about this one? He won in the GTP. I'm sure he's happy about that. Now we're going to talk to people. First up is going to be Riley Thompson, our winner, or excuse me, our second place drivers in GTO. It looked like you were holding on to Joni towards the start of the race. You were kind of, within striking distance, about a second and a half back, Riley. But as it went on, that gap just kept stretching.
Yeah, I think after a while, just the pressure of the turns 3 and 4 definitely got to the tires, and I think they ended up falling out. So,
obviously, this isn't the first time that the Kamel GT series has raced at the Charlotte Roval. Did you learn much from the last time you were here, if you raced in the previous incarnations? And would you say that experience on this somewhat chaotic track pays?
I actually wasn't in the series by the time they went here last time, but this was the first track I actually practiced for, so I think it's definitely been interesting to learn and help.
So, obviously, the Rovals don't show up as much on most road course calendars, but what are your thoughts? Would you like to see more tracks in this style where they take some of the infield courses from the oval side of iRacing?
I think it mainly depends on the road courses, because when you've got tracks like Charlotte and Daytona, they definitely seem to just fit these cars perfectly. They've got the perfect width, got enough passing zones, and normally 3 and 4 of the oval are wide enough to where Nissans can get by without problem.
Certainly made for an interesting dynamic. And up next week, we're going to Sebring. That's also a very bumpy course. How do you feel about that one coming up?
Pretty good. Hopefully it'll also serve for a good practice for the Sebring race this week 3rd.
All right. Well, looking forward to seeing you running there, and congratulations on a podium today.
Thank you.
That was Riley Thompson, second place finisher in the GTOs. Up next, we have the third place finisher and the GTP. Sean has caught up with Fabian Gerber.
Hello.
Hey, hello, Fabian. Congratulations, man. A top 3 finish. Now, obviously, you started this on the pole. What were the difficulties about running the Charlotte Roval today?
It was very slippery, and it was okay all race long. I was leading. I think I could have won it. I'm pretty mad at myself, but the mistake I made wasn't like a stupid mistake. I was just pretty fast because I was in the draft of the Audi in front, and I was happy to go back to the racing line. But that load change just before braking, I think, made the car a bit loose, so I lost the car, and that cost me 2 positions in the end.
Yeah, and I know that's tough to swallow, but it sounds like you had a good time anyway. You sound like you're in pretty decent spirits.
Yes, it was a great race. Otherwise, I enjoyed it. I like Rovals in general, and I hope we'll get here soon again, race here soon again.
Well, and when we do race here soon again, we'll have that. Hopefully, we'll have that new configuration of this Roval. Are you looking forward to that?
Is that the configuration they drove at NASCAR this year?
Yes. Yeah, that would be correct. Yep.
That would be one chicane more, which I wouldn't like. So I'm not sure. I have to see.
All right. Well, hey, we look forward to seeing you again next week at Sebring. Are you looking forward to that challenge? It is a tough track.
Yes, it is tough, but I always liked it. It's very bumpy. I actually like this, and I like the track in general. It's a nice track to drive, and I look forward to that week. I hope I can have some, redemption for this week.
Yeah, some redemption, definitely, yeah. All right. Well, we wish you the best, and yes, race fans, Fabian Gerber will be driving with that. He'll be on the chip next week. He'll have that chip on his shoulder, trying to come back and get a win there at Sebring. Thanks again, Fabian. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you too. Bye, guys.
All right, that's going to close up our interviews. Just 2 today. That's okay. It's been a tiring race for a lot of these drivers. And before we go, we want to thank a few people. A big thank you, of course, to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and as well to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. Again, I want to encourage everybody to click that big red subscribe button because there's lots of great racing here on this channel. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, Dougie, and of course, Stefan for coming in to pit report for us today. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, if you head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, you won't miss a moment on the GSRC as well. And if you head on over there now, maybe we'll get Bill to sing you a special tune afterwards. Who knows? Next race, of course, we're going to Sebring. That'll be Saturday, November 3rd. That'll be 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.